All right, let's talk about the most successful slot machine ever invented. And here's the wild part. It's probably in your pocket or in your hand right now. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been there, just scrolling and scrolling, and you know you should probably stop, but it feels almost impossible? Why is it so hard to just put the phone down? Well, here's the thing. It's not because you have a lack of willpower. Not at all. It's actually by design. It's a psychological blueprint that's been carefully perfected for over a century.
In this whole system, it really boils down to one incredibly potent idea: the power of maybe. You can think of this as the psychological engine that makes so much of social media tick.
Okay, so the technical term for this engine is variable ratio reinforcement. Now, that sounds complicated, but the idea is actually super simple. It just means you get a reward after a totally unpredictable number of tries. You refresh the page, you pull the lever, you never know when you're going to get something good, you just know it might be next time. And that little bit of uncertainty, it creates the most addictive, most consistent behavior that psychologists have ever seen.
So just take a look at this breakdown. You've got other ways to give rewards, right? Like fixed ratio, do something 5 times, get a prize. Sure, people work hard, but then they take a break. But now look at variable ratio, the one that's highlighted. The response rate is just off the charts. It's the highest and the most consistent. But here's the real kicker: highest resistance to extinction. All that means is that even when the rewards stop coming, you keep trying for the longest time. That's the power of maybe keeping you hooked.
Okay, so that's the psychology behind it. But what's actually going on upstairs, in our brains? Well, it turns out our brains have a surprise button, and it's all about the neurobiology of not knowing what's coming next.
The key concept here is something scientists call reward prediction error, or RPE for short. And all it really means is the gap between what your brain thought was going to happen and what actually happened. It's basically the science of surprise.
And this is so important to understand. Your brain's dopamine system, the feel-good chemical, it isn't really about pleasure itself. It's about the anticipation of pleasure. It goes wild for the surprise of an unexpected good thing. So when a reward is unpredictable, every time you win, you get this little dopamine hit that tells your brain, whoa, that was great and I didn't see it coming. Do that again.
So, you might be asking, how did this brain science get from a psychology lab into the apps we use every single day? Well, it's a story about a blueprint that traveled directly from the casino floor to computer code, a design literally built for compulsion.
It all started way back in 1895 with the very first mechanical slot machine, the Liberty Bell. For decades, it was all gears and levers. But then, the 1970s came along, and microprocessors and random number generators completely digitized the game. And then, you fast forward to 2009, and that exact same core mechanic lands right on your phone in the form of the pull-to-refresh gesture.
I mean, the parallel is just staggering when you lay it out like this. On a slot machine, you pull a lever, you watch the reel spin in anticipation, and you hope for an unpredictable reward. On your phone, you pull down to refresh, you watch that little loading icon spin with that exact same anticipation for an unpredictable reward of new content. It is, quite literally, a digital one-armed bandit.
And look, this isn't just some crazy theory. Tristan Harris, who used to be a design ethicist right inside Google, he said it himself. He said, "The gesture creates a variable reward cycle, which is precisely what keeps them coming back to pull the lever." This wasn't some happy accident. It's 100% intentional design.
But, that pulling the lever part, that's only half the story. Modern apps have also become absolute masters at removing any and all reasons you might have to stop.
And that brings us to the infamous infinite scroll. It was invented back in 2006, and its purpose is just deviously simple. Get rid of all the natural stopping points. Think about it. There's no next page button. There's no bottom of the feed. The content just keeps loading and loading, keeping you in this timeless flow state, kind of like how casinos famously don't have any clocks or windows.
And the effect this has, it's huge. Get this, just by removing those stopping cues, the average time someone spends in an app jumps by a massive 50%. That is an enormous consequence for our attention, all from one seemingly small design choice.
But here's where the digital version really leaves the old casino slot machine in the dust. See, your phone learns. The algorithms are watching everything, what you like, how long you linger on a video, who you talk to, and they use all that data to build a slot machine that is perfectly, uniquely tailored to you. It makes sure that the maybe is as powerful and tempting as it can possibly be.
So, okay, the design is powerful, it's personalized, it's a lot. The big question is, what can we actually do about it? Let's talk about how we can start reclaiming our attention, looking at everything from small individual changes to much bigger systemic reforms.
A really great first step is to just consciously disrupt the design yourself. And one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to do that, take away the visual bait. Remove the colorful candy that these apps use to lure you in.
And check this out. The grayscale effect is a perfect example. You know all those bright, flashy, colorful notification icons? They're designed like little alarm bells for your brain. But the moment you switch your phone to grayscale, you strip all that power away. And the data is incredible. Studies have shown this one simple change can reduce daily social media browsing by around 40 minutes. It's your own little act of rebellion against the design.
But let's be real for a second. These individual fixes are great, but sometimes it can feel like you're fighting a forest fire with a water pistol, right? That's why so many experts are now calling for fundamental, systemic changes to the entire business model of the tech industry.
The Center for Humane Technology has proposed a pretty solid framework for what this could look like. First, a duty of care. Basically, holding tech products to the same kind of safety standards we expect from cars or food. Second, protecting whistleblowers inside these companies who expose harmful designs. Third, modernizing our digital rights to give us real control over our own data. And finally, creating clear guardrails to prevent AI from being used to manipulate us. It's all about changing the incentives from harvesting our attention to actually respecting it.
So here's the bottom line. The slot machine is in your pocket, and its blueprint is now clear. The design is powerful, yes, but it's not invisible anymore. And the second you can see the design, you get a choice. Now that you know how the game works, how are you going to choose to play?